Okay, we're going to start the cuffs now. I made a couple changes on the actual pattern itself. I think I described it a little bit on the last video, or one of the videos I did. What they want you to do is just fold this line down, take this cuff, fold it like this and like this until they're exactly even next to each other, and then do your gathering line on each side. You know, you can do it, but when you start to gather, it makes a real mess, so I'm going to do mine a little differently. Another thing I did was I decided to go with the different lace. So it calls for you to, the pattern calls for you to cut two 16-inch lengths of 1.5-inch wide lace. When you look at your lace on your sleeve, it's an awful lot of lace. So you can probably get by with not so many gathers if you want less gathers. So because of my scallops on this lace, they were right in the middle of that 16 inches, so I cut down. I didn't want to go to the next higher scallop, so I'm only using 15.5 inches of lace. As far as the cuffs, you're going to have two pieces. One is your right and one is your left. Your double notch on the back means that's your back sleeve. So I made one of the notches on here so I knew exactly, I didn't have to guess which sleeve was the back, which one was the front, right and left. So that double notch helps me know that that is the back of the sleeve on each side of the dress. Okay, so your first option, your first step on these sleeves is to put some gathers in your lace. So let's go ahead and take our piece of lace. If there's a right and a wrong side on your flat lace, you want to make sure that you use the right side of your lace on the outside of the sleeve. This is the right side on both sides. Okay, so that's the right side, this is the right side. So let's go ahead and go to our gathering stitch. Let me make sure you're seeing what I'm seeing. See if I can pull this around a little bit. Okay, so let me go ahead and change my, you want to go to the outside so you don't see any of the stitching, so go to the left side, the right side of your, to do your gather. Okay, I'm only going to put one row of stitching in this. Because you're going to sew it again on top of it besides that too. Okay, so I got a lot of my gathers already in, so let's go ahead and take one of our sleeves. So if you remember your legends when you're looking at your pattern instructions, the shaded side of the sleeve is the wrong side. So you want to turn, I know it sounds funny, but you're going to turn to the wrong side and sew your lace on. So let's go ahead and line up our lace to the wrong side of the fabric. You're going to line the one part even with the bottom. Let's pin it down. Okay, now we're going to take the other side of the lace and pin it to the opposite side of the bottom of the sleeve. Line that lace up to the edge, and we're going to sew this to the wrong side of the sleeve. Okay, so once you have that, make sure you can see. Okay, so pull your gathers, one side of your gathers. So I'm going to pull from the top, and I'm going to pull those gathers tight. And to keep it down, I'm just going to take my thread and wrap it up around that pin that I put down on there. Okay, that'll get that thread out of the way. Okay, so now I'm going to take the other side and pull the other side so that lace is even with the bottom of that cuff. So same thing, use your top thread. Okay. Oops. Okay, so now we're going to take our, I haven't tightened that around the needle yet, the pin yet, because I may have to add some more ruffles. So let's go ahead and take our ruffles and pin them down on the sleeve. So even them out. Like I said, 16 inches of lace on this little sleeve is a lot of ruffles. So if you don't like that many ruffles, then cut your lace down. You don't have to use the whole 16 inches if you don't want to. It's just totally up to you. Okay, let's get that rest of that sleeve tight. And let's just put a pin up here. Then we'll just wrap this around this one. Okay, so okay, even out all your stitching, all your stitches. You want to give yourself 1/4 of an inch on the edge where the edge of this lace is, because we're going to sew that together when we actually sew our sleeves. So let's put one more pin in here. I may have had too many gathers at the beginning, I do, so let me go ahead and smooth some of these out. You want your lace to lay evenly across the whole sleeve. If it doesn't, then adjust it. Let me bring that back up so you can see what step we're at. We're at step number 7. Pin lace to wrong side, actually number 8. Okay, let's even out that. Okay, so if you want to, you can just turn this before you sew it, and that'll give you a good idea of what that lace is going to look like when you actually put it on the doll. Okay, so they're pretty even, I think. So basically that's what you're looking at. Okay, so wrong side. So now what we're going to do is we are going to put that pin back in that I just pulled out. And we're going to sew this like a regular seam. We're going to sew it like we would any other seam. So let's go back to your regular setting set. Okay, so that's my regular 1/4 of an inch seam. So we want to do it so that, well, it doesn't matter on this lace, but some of your laces might have that edging to it. You want to cover that up. Well, you're not going to see it anyway with the cuff, so I guess it really doesn't matter. Okay, so let's go ahead and start sewing here. So put that down. Okay, let me take out that first pin. Okay. Okay, take out your pins when you get to them. Get some of this thread out of the way. Okay, if you want, pick up your lace and even it out. You're not going to see, when you add the cuff, it's going to cover a little bit of your lace on the outside. So, I mean, you do want to get it even, but if it's not exactly perfect, that is going to be covered a little bit. Okay, so we have got that on. Let's trim some of these threads off. Okay, my trash can over there. Okay, so what we've got is that to the wrong side of the fabric, and now when we turn it to the front, what we're going to do is we are going to tack that, we're going to sew it down to the front of the fabric. So let me get my trash can over here. Okay, so now that we've got that, we're going to go ahead and turn this to the other side. So see how we're going to lay that fabric to the front of our fabric, just like that. But we're not going to sew on this side. We're going to sew on the other side so we can see exactly what our stitching is. So go ahead and put your lay your lace up against the top of that. Let me see if I can show you. Here's your lace. Push it this way. If you want to, go ahead and pin it down if you need to. You don't have to though, because you can just do it while you're sewing it. But if you can't, then just go ahead and I'll put some pins in so you can see what I mean. So we're actually sewing this flush to the front of the right side of the fabric. I find it's easier to sew on the wrong side so I can see exactly where I'm going, but you do want to change your position of your, because if you sew the same width as you did before, you're going to end up sewing right and you might not catch the other side. So you're going to want to change your needle position more to the right side of the fabric. Okay, so like I said, you can do it on either side. How come that did that? You can sew it from either side, but you are going to get a little, there's a little bit of, I don't know if you want to call it warping or what, but because you've got that curve going there, you are going to have sort of a bowing effect here. I noticed that on the other sleeve. I don't know if you can see it now that it's already been sewn together, but because you are in going up and down like that, it does give you a kind of a warping effect. I guess that's what I would call it, a warping effect. Okay, so now what we're going to do, now that we've got our lace on, we are going to sew on the wrong side of the fabric and we're going to hold that lace down. So I've taken my needle position and I've gone a little bit over to the right so I can make sure I catch that lace on the other side. So let's go ahead and just follow right along where that stitching is. Okay, and when you get to the pins, take them out. You can feel with your fingers too also, you can feel and feel that that lace is laying flat on the opposite side of the fabric. Let me see if I can do it without my hand in the way. Nah, it's a little too hard to sew. So let me see if I can, well, the camera's pretty close as it is, so let me see if I can do this. Okay, so take that out. If you think you're not catching the lace on the other side, you can go back and fix it later. Because nobody's going to see this anyway. This is sort of going to be like invisible stitching because the cuff is going to cover it. So if you do have to re-sew it and catch some more of the lace on the other side, don't worry, because like I said, you're not even going to see it once we put that cuff on. Okay, let's see how we did. Okay. I cut most of it. There's one little piece right there that I can fix. Okay, let me just go ahead. See that one little piece right there? I'm going to go ahead and sew it from the right side so I can see exactly what I'm sewing, and I want to catch it so it lays flat. Let me go back to the middle so I know exactly where I'm sewing. Okay, so I've caught that piece of lace. Okay, so that is putting the lace on the bottom of the sleeve. So you're going to do the same thing on the opposite side and finish that sleeve. Okay, so our next step is to do the cuff. Because I'm going to be sewing on the top of the cuff, I don't want my stitches to show. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim this little piece right here. But I'm also going to change to a green thread because I don't want my stitches to show on the top of the cuff. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and finish the second sleeve, and then we'll come back and we'll put a cuff on this sleeve. I think it'll be alright. It's going to be a little long around the doll's arms, the hands, but I think it'll be fine. Okay, let me get the cuffs ready.